Nutritional myth debunking. High-dose supplements are the best. I don't know why there is often this attitude in nutrition and supplementations that high dose are always best. I feel like we don't really have this attitude in other areas such as medications or even portions of food, or actually a lot of things in life. We know that more is not always best. But for some reason, when it comes to nutrition and supplements, people often assume they want the highest dose possible and high is best. So this is a common question I often get asked. So I just wanted to come on here to talk a little bit about this. I find it really interesting. Now, there are different areas. So I'm a nutritionist, but I also work closely with herbs, so herbal medicine. So it does vary. This question does vary depending on what nutrient or herb we're talking about. But there are some common themes, some common takeaway points that I hope will be helpful to you all. So my first question I often ask, or I consider, or we can get tests to help confirm it, is, are you deficient? So when we're thinking about particular nutrient, this is more for the nutrient side of things. And I like to use vitamin D as a nice example for a lot of these. It gives it fits well, it gives a nice example. So vitamin D, lovely example. Are you deficient? Why are you wanting to take more? Now here in the UK, Scotland especially, most people are deficient. Now you can get a test from the doctor if you want to help confirm this, but unless you're very good at taking a vitamin D supplement, if you're relying on the sunshine here and food sources, then you're most likely to be deficient. So vitamin D is one that I can safely say most people would benefit from a sensible dose supplement. But it is a lovely example of a nutrient that you do need a sensible dose. Just back to the deficiency benefits, research does show that if you're deficient, you will get more of a benefit. So basically, don't take things unnecessarily. And as I say, certain nutrients you could get away with a little bit extra. But vitamin D, we don't need to take too much. So moving on and keeping vitamin D in mind, another theme is, how is it stored in the body? Okay, so this is something you should be considering with medications or supplements, or you should be asking yourself. Vitamin D is a lovely example because it's fat soluble. This means we store it. We store it in the liver, we can store it in our adipose tissue, and we don't want to store too much. Stores are there to be utilised if we need it, but we do not need massive excess stores, and it can in excess be detrimental. So your liver can be put under pressure. I'm using vitamin D as an example. Iron is another example. People perhaps assume iron gives me energy, so let's just take more and more and more, super high doses. We don't need it, and your body struggles to store it, and it has to put the efforts into storing it. So it can be detrimental, especially certain nutrients, vitamin D or iron, having too much. Your body needs to store it, so just consider that. Then how is it processed? How does your body see that nutrient, process it and make it useful, make it bioavailable? So vitamin D, another nice example. So we need magnesium, sufficient magnesium, to make vitamin D active, and meaning that we can make use of it. And again, you also physiologically, kind of holistically rely on other organs such as your liver, your kidneys to make these kind of conversions into the right form. So this is something to consider as well, that just your liver is always quite active and should be considered depending on what we're putting in our bodies. But the vitamin D and magnesium one is interesting because from my experience, magnesium is quite often forgotten about. So people will happily take super high doses of vitamin D, but they don't take the magnesium that we need to get it into the right places and to process it properly. And this can throw other nutrients in the body off, such as calcium. It can affect calcium balance in the wrong ways. So this is one to consider, and why an all-round multivitamin can be quite helpful in some respects, because it tends to have the nutrients in a nicer balance, kind of replicating food, so more of a whole food or a whole plant balance. So that can be a benefit rather than just taking sole nutrients in super high doses. And just on that front, my final question is it natural? So within different nutrients, we often get synthetic forms. So vitamin C is a nice example of this. You can get ascorbic acid, which is synthetic, it's made in a lab. Does your body recognise and process that as well as a lovely whole food form? So vitamin C is quite often taken from fruits. So acerola cherry is a lovely source of vitamin C, and in that way it can be in a nice whole food, natural form supplement that your body is more likely to recognise and make better use of. Wherever possible, start with your foods and your natural sources, But if you do want to supplement, try and get a more natural form whole food supplement if you like. Then when it comes to herbs, this rule applies to both herbs and nutrients. So with herbs, you can also get whole herb blends. So Avogo does this really well, taking the whole herb and the whole plant as much as possible. And research has backed this, that the beneficial effects are often more apparent in a whole plant extract rather than just taking one nutrient. Also, this is why Avogo doesn't tend to do super high doses. Again, the research has shown that beyond a certain point, the benefit is no more by taking more. And again, this is down to those bodily processes. Your body recognises what is natural. When something becomes unnatural, your body is thinking, "Oh, thank you, I don't need that much, I don't want that much." So the half-life would change, your body would tend to metabolize things quicker, and you may not get the benefit there. And there's research on that in the vitamin D as well, how your body, if you put in a super high dose, your body just uses it up quicker and wants to get rid of it, really, because it's not natural and it's not something your body would traditionally have benefited from. I hope that helps. Any questions, let me know.